Please welcome our next speaker, Sharon Smith. Today, she'll showcase her session, The Shifting Landscape of the Dynamics 365 UI UX, the DynamicsCon Virtual Edition. Please stick around after Sharon's session for a live Q&A.
Hello everybody, my name is Sharon Smith. I'm a Dynamics 365 solution architect working for ANS, and you are with me this afternoon to look at the shifting landscape of the Dynamics 365 user interface and user experience. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank DynamicsCon Virtual for the opportunity to present this special edition of the Shifting Landscapes to you, which will be one of the final editions of this year-long series. So who am I? I am, as I said, I'm a Dynamics solution architect working for the ANS group, who are based in the UK. I have 8.5 going on years experience working with the Dynamics apps, mainly working both global and national projects. I specialise in the customer experience and customer service apps, and I'm also ANS's lead architect for their Microsoft Fast Track Portfolio program. The fun fact is I'm a member of ANS Group's Squirrel Club. Why is that fun? Because we are an internal group of volunteers who are supporting and promoting those of us with neurodiversities. If you want to talk about any of that, you can find me on LinkedIn on my link there. You can see on the screen, and you can also find my blog writings on my Heuristic Dev website. So, what's today's agenda going to look like? Well, it's actually going to be a retrospective of the last year's journey that I've been on, where we were in part 1, and that will make sense to you soon, where we were in part 2, a spotlight on a couple of dwell times, which references blogs that I've written, in particular the Copilot Immersive homepage in the Dynamics Sales app, and then the Copilot for Sales and Project Sophia, which we'll be looking at in more detail. And this is learning that literally is coming to you fresh from my time at Scottish Summit, where I took away some very good learnings about Copilot for Sales and what Project Sophia is going to be influencing this whole journey and the future of AI and autonomous agents going forward in Dynamics 365. So, what is the shifting landscapes? It started out as a blog post last November about the changes that I was seeing in the then field service work order, and it posts the question whether or not the changes that were being introduced were actually signalling the death knell of the ubiquitous business process flow. And that is something which we've had in Dynamics for a very long time. That blog post generated some interesting comments and reflections and conversations on LinkedIn, which made me wonder whether or not we were actually seeing the start of something which was a much more fundamental transformation in the way we work with the out-of-the-box Dynamics applications. And from there, I ended up doing a bit of a deep dive into the 2024 release wave 1, alongside some of my ANS teammates for an away day that we had at the beginning of last year. And that led my brain down, a neurodiverse brain, down the rabbit holes which all seemed to lead in a similar direction. And that there was a story to tell, which hopefully would be of interest to others working in the business application section. And in a moment of madness, I submitted a session to the United Kingdom's Dynamics 365 and Power Platform user group meeting being held in London on the 28th of February, my first ever speaker session, and it turned into an extremely enjoyable experience for me and also for, as you'll see, my very well-informed and engaged audience who became co-travelers with me, exploring what Microsoft were doing to change this landscape for the Dynamics 365 apps. This is where we started by looking at the 2023 release wave 2 and field services introduction into general availability of a refreshed user experience to manage work orders and 2 new work order forms. The then new work order form has now become the main work order form, and it introduced a significant change to the layout, moving as it did from the classic 3-column form with its business process flow atop, which you can see on the left-hand side here on this slide, to much cleaner lines of 2 columns and the replacement of the business process flow with the then new dynamic card for bookings, which you can see on the right-hand side. With my co-travelers, we then moved apps over to the sales app, where we saw again a comprehensive replacement of the business process flow with the sales accelerators, groupings, sequence functionality. Now, these are described as a way of helping sellers to laser focus and act effectively in a timely manner to qualify leads and nurture opportunities by following a predefined set of consecutive actions reflecting their sales organization's best practices. Now, in a way, you might say that sounds very familiar, sounds a bit like a business process flow. However, what it actually does is it allows you to allocate specific tasks in that sequence of actions that needs to be carried out to different people, different users, different salespeople, which you cannot do easily in a business process flow. We didn't see the complete removal of the business process flow within the sales app, however, because the feedback that the Microsoft product owners received was that there was still a demand for the lead qualification process. Now, in sales, this is the process where you take a lead, a immature contact, and you qualify it into an opportunity which is ready for its sale to progress. So what the product owners did is they effectively changed the lead qualification process to a more agile process, which you can see on the right-hand side screenshot there. And what that allows administrators to do is to choose when a lead is qualified into an opportunity, whether or not the creation of the account, the contact, and the opportunity record types happen automatically, or whether or not they're processed manually by the seller. Also, it allows you to map fields from the leads over to the opportunities, selecting up to 7 fields of your choice, including custom fields. And this is one of the big key changes, is the ability to say, I have custom fields on my sales app in my leads that I want to bring over into the opportunity, and you can map those in and they will come across automatically. So big changes. Now, of course, you can't talk about sales without looking at marketing through the same lens. And whilst there wasn't actually any reference to it in the Wave 1 documentation, if you watch the release highlight videos back at the beginning of 2024, you would have actually seen that the Copilot feature that is the Customer Insights project board took central stage early on in that Microsoft video. From the project board, which is still in public preview, marketers can view the campaign's target audience and segments, as well as recommendations from Copilot for additional segments that they may not have previously considered. You can select a suggested audience segment, which automatically generates a personalized customer journey, which would save marketers a huge amount of time from having to do that manually. A partnership with Typeface enables the products of brand alignment content, which includes themes, fonts, and product images from a central asset library, which means that this whole journey and all the emails that are created and all the marketing artifacts that are created are in the organization's branding straight away. Now, of course, you can't talk about generative AI in business applications without considering Project Sophia as well, which back in February was described as an AI-first business application designed to redefine what business applications can look like in a future powered by AI. Now, this is a completely different way of engaging with your data. It's like having your access to your own digital analyst, one of those words you just can't say, with the power of rich cross-department domain expertise. So lots and lots of changes that you could see were happening as part one of the 2024 release wave from Microsoft. Now, if you've got any questions about any of what we've just looked at in part one, drop those questions into the chat now, and we will explore them at the end of this live presentation, where we'll have our live Q&A, because I know that I've rushed through a lot of content there, and I'm sure you've got a lot of questions about that. So, part two. What was part two all about? Now, each one of these user group sessions that we present is like this session here. It's a 45-minute session, and there's only so much that you can go through that. I had some wonderful feedback from that first session that I presented in February. And so 4 months later, I returned to London to visit some of the apps that I'd missed from that initial session, fill the gap, and build on some of those journey stops from part one and tease them out more. Now, for my own personal journey, back in February, I was nervous as a first-time speaker, but I knew the venue very well, having been there and having attended a few times as a user group attendee. It was Microsoft's own offices. Come June, however, we were in a new venue, King's College London Strand campus, and I found out from the agenda that the room I'd been allocated to was called Safra Hall. Now, to my mind, that seemed very strange. I thought, well, I'm presenting in the hall where we have our tea and coffee. That was the only thing that I could actually think about in my own head. However, when I actually went and looked at King's College London's website and check out the venue sitemap, I found out that what was being called a hall wasn't actually a hall. It was actually the Edmund J. Safra Lecture Theatre. So here is me going from that lovely small room, nice and snug, with my fellow travellers back in February, to all of a sudden I'm on the big stage and I'm presenting to a lecture theatre. Very, very different experience indeed. So what did we actually look at though? So part two saw us, as I say, minding the gaps, an acknowledgement that it isn't always about the wave releases as well. Because in between the wave releases, for those of you not used to it, you get a number of official blog releases or official Microsoft releases where Microsoft are wanting to introduce you to the new ways of thinking or working or work that their product owners are doing in between. The Microsoft Fast Track Solution Architects, who look after the Dynamics customer service apps, in this time, they put out a series of Tech Talk videos. And if you want to know more about these Tech Talk videos, put a question in the Q&A and we'll drop you the link to where you can actually find where those Tech Talk videos are showcased. So back in between February, March, April time, they put out these videos showing a revolutionary optimization tools that they'd actually been developing. The first of which is agent scripts. And this was seen by that team as playing a crucial role in minimizing human errors during case resolution process by ensuring that agents knew the business process actions that needed to be performed next whilst they're interacting with the customer. Now, this is the important thing, because Unlike with a business process flow, where you're managing a case and effectively it's all about making sure that you have the right data collected and the right information available before you move on to the next part of the process. With the agent scripts, this is more about when your customer service agent is on the phone to a client or dealing with them through live chat. And this is about how they engage with that customer in real time. So what it does is it uses slugs and OData queries to pass contextual information about the customer and or their case into the text steps, which are on that sidebar you can see in the left-hand side screenshot. And that's a retractable script that displays for them to work through and check off as they go along with it. Really, really good. Another example of Microsoft's product team going from strength to strength is with the Sales Copilot homepage as well. Now, this has evolved from an expanded workspace that you'll see on that right-hand side screenshot that appears to be little more than a wrapper into a Copilot Assistant homepage that works in sync with the Copilot chat pane. Now, I'm not going to say any more about that now because I'm going to give you a live demo of that later on in this session because I really think that this is revolutionary. And if you haven't seen it before and what it can do now, you really do need to see it. Now, Copilot Studio is the single conversational AI tool that you can use to create your own custom copilots, or as we might have known them back in the day, bots, to extend Microsoft Copilot experiences with your own enterprise data and scenarios. Now, with Copilot agents, the studios then, this is obviously back in June, you're probably very used to it by now, new conversational experience, the Copilot connectors and conversational analytics, they all come together in its ability to create Copilots that can act as independent agents. They can be triggered by events, not just conversations, and they can automate and orchestrate long-running business processes. This was the beginning of a big journey that I'm going to be exploring in 2025 further, because this is where the recent announcements we've seen from Microsoft about AI and autonomous agents is going. So you can see this journey was already starting back in June. It's going to be going on into 2025, and it's going to completely revolutionize how we actually work with the Dynamics apps. The contact center on the right-hand side screenshot, that is the latest milestone in Microsoft's own vision for modernizing and evolving its own customer service and support teams using generative AI. And this is where, if we're talking about the way that the product has actually evolved, you can't ask for better, because this is where you're actually seeing Microsoft basically changing the way that the apps ourselves, the apps we're getting ourselves to sell on to our customers are actually evolving by Microsoft themselves, actually using them and evolving them themselves and testing them out themselves before they then put it into production. So hot off the heels of Microsoft builds Copilot agents, we see CSAS, Contact Center as a Service. Now, this is the Dynamics Contact Center, which went into general availability on the 1st of July. It basically can sit on top of any CRM system. So it's a complete change with the way that Microsoft itself used to work back under Bill Gates, where everybody was a competitor, to where it is now under Satya Nadella, where everybody is a potential collaborator. You don't have to use Dynamics as a CRM system, but Microsoft still says you're going to want its contact center because its contact center is the best out there as far as Microsoft is concerned. And it will put its contact center on top of Salesforce. It will put it on top of whatever CRM you are using and allow you the benefits of its generative AI and its Copilot power. Another key announcement that we saw during May was the fact that Microsoft were evolving its certifications for Dynamics to help ensure that the skills related to Microsoft's AI apps and services, as it was now referring to them, and other emerging technologies were validated, and the certification journey, which makes sure that we stay up to date on what the latest functionality is and maintain our status as experts in that functionality, is going to be streamlined to provide a more straightforward path for professionals like myself to prove their technical skills. Now, this new role-based certificate, where it's taking the 3 certificates which were for the Sales app, the Customer Insights Journeys app, and the Customer Insights Data app, and bringing them all together under one Dynamics 365 Customer Experience Analyst Associate, also known as the MB280 for those of you who do like your certifications. It's currently available in better format, and as I said, it brings together those 3 apps. Now, when I saw this being announced, as far as my own neuro brain was concerned, I automatically thought, if it's bringing together the certificates, are we actually then going to be seeing a merger of the apps themselves as well? Because we already see some function of the marketing functionality in a much more simplistic form in the Sales app already. So are they 2 going to actually be coming together? That was the obvious question to me. Now, back in June, my answer then was probably not, because if you actually looked at the official announcements from Microsoft for the 2024 release wave 1, when it talks under the investment areas, previously, back at the end of 2023, one of its goals had been the unification of the sales and marketing. However, at the beginning of 2024, that seemed to have disappeared as far as one of its investment areas. So it was like, okay, maybe they thought about it and then they decided no, too complicated, or other reasons why they didn't want to bring them together, but they were still going to bring the certifications together. However, under the 2024 released Wave 2, Microsoft are once again talking about streamlining data ingesting to transform data from disparate data sources into actionable insights swiftly. In other words, to empower sellers and marketers together to be more successful. So perhaps, probably not, maybe, should be probably. But like any good consultant will say, it depends. Again, if you've got any questions about that, drop your questions in the Q&A and we can cover those off at the end of this live session. Now, this is where we get on to what I referred to as dwell times. And after I'd done those 2 presentation sessions in February and in June, a lot of the feedback I got from those was that people wanted more information. So I did some deep dives into some of those key areas from the customer service and customer experience apps in order to actually have a look at the agent scripts, as I suggested, the sequences, and the Copilot immersive homepage in more detail. And you can find those in-depth deep dive blogs on my website. But in this particular instant, what we're going to do is we're going to actually change over now into the live system, and we're going to have a look at the Copilot immersive homepage in the live system. So here we are in the Dynamics 365 Sales Hub, and what you'll see is when you come into the Sales Hub, you automatically come into the Copilot immersive homepage. This immersive homepage takes the whole width, and what you will notice is that whereas normally you would have up here on the right-hand side your sidebar Copilot, that is grayed out for you whilst you're in the immersive homepage. So when this was originally set up by Microsoft, you didn't actually have these prompts up here. You only had the prompt area down here where you could type in your own prompts. Now, the feedback that Microsoft got in that early version was that sales agents were unsure on how best to actually prompt Copilot in order to get the best information out of the data. So what Microsoft has done is it has set up 6 pre-built prompts for you under Get Information, Ask Questions, and Stay Ahead. So, for example, with Get Information, one of the most common questions that a sales agent might have is, show me my pipeline. So I click on that and Copilot brings through my pipeline with my top 5 opportunities. If you hover over any one of these bubbles, it will tell you what that opportunity is within the pipeline, where it is within the pipeline phase, its estimated close date, and also the estimated revenue for that opportunity. If I come down and say, I'd like to see a summary of any one of these opportunities, we can see on the right-hand side, we have this sparkle summarize. And we click on that. And Copilot is getting the opportunity summary information here for you. And what it's doing is it's going into that particular opportunity, looking at all the information and the data that is sitting on that opportunity record and summarizing it for you in this standard format that it provides. If you want product insight information or competitor insights, that information is also there for you. Other information which might be helpful for you to know is what's actually going on in the broader business community and the business world. And what I can say is, get me the latest information for my accounts from Reuters. I click on that prompt and it's bringing me through the Reuters information from Fortune, and other key trusted websites from the wider internet. And if I wanted to have a look at that information, I just need to click on one of these links and it will take me through to that information, which again might be helpful when the agent reaches out to those particular opportunities. They can then look at what's happening with that account in the news at that time, and then it gives them an icebreaker or another opportunity to further discuss the already ongoing discussions that are being had with that client based on what is happening and being reported in the news for them that day. Coming back up here again to our prompts up here, other things you can ask Copilot is, what is newly assigned to me? Have any new leads or opportunities been assigned to me? What is new with my sales records? So have there been any new activities that have happened since I last looked at them? And then as far as the stay ahead section is concerned, it can help you prepare for a sales appointment. If you've got an appointment coming up and you want to prepare and get ready for that meeting or that call. And also, it can give you a list of emails that you need to follow up on, which can be quite important. That will give you your top emails as far as the risks that would need to actually be dealt with, the ones that are at risk of those accounts not actually progressing as you would want them to. So if I'm coming down and I want to have a look at the Pro Grinders for Northwind Traders opportunity, and I want to actually go into this record. I've looked at it, I've read the key information, and I think, yes, I want to actually reach out and give these people a call or send them an email. I can click on the link here to that particular account, And it brings me directly into that opportunity. So you can see in the navigation pane on the left-hand side, whereas I was up here on Copilot under my work, I'm now down here in the opportunity on that under the sales area. And the other thing you'll notice is that the Copilot side pane, which before was grayed out when we were in the immersive homepage, now it's with us. And what it's actually done is it's pulled all that information that we had in the immersive homepage through with us. So all those prompts up here and all the pipeline information that we had, that summary that we pulled through, the news articles, all of that information is here on this side pane so that I can continue to have that conversation with Copilot whilst I am actually in this particular record. And if I wanted to jump out of this record and go somewhere else, for example, we were looking at whether or not I wanted to stay ahead and look at more information. If I click on this, it's still working inside the Copilot sidebar here. Unfortunately, this is test data I've got here. It didn't actually find anything, but if you had your full customers' accounts details there, it would pull that information through for you in the Copilot sidebar whilst leaving you with this record in front of you. And that's really useful because if, say, for example, I wanted to keep this record open, but I, say, wanted to have a look at some of my competitor insights, if I look at this, it will take me to that record. But I've still got all the information that I had as far as that summary of the previous record next to me in the Copilot sidebar. So again, I've got the competitor record and I've got the account opportunity summary still here so that I can effectively compare to both of them alongside me, look at the strengths and weaknesses of our competitor and think, right, okay, how am I actually going to then pitch this when I am giving this particular opportunity a call? So really, really useful way of actually keeping that information alongside you in your Copilot sidebar whilst you're then working in the record here. And if I come back up here, finally, to the Copilot immersive homepage, you'll see the sidebar tucks itself back in again, but everything that we were doing inside that sidebar, as you can see, didn't find any results for that. Please try a different question. Back here again. And that is the power of the Copilot immersive homepage for you. So thank you very much for your time. That was my live presentation to you. We're now going to change over to the Q&A session. So if you haven't already and you've got some questions, drop those questions in the chat and we'll now change over into the Q&A side of things. Thank you. Hello everyone. So I hope you actually enjoyed the presentation that you've just watched. And for your information, that is the very final time that that shifting landscape, so the Dynamics 365 user interface and user experience is actually going to be shown. So this is a very special moment for me. This is the very last edition of what is a year-long journey for me before I then transition, as I said during the presentation, over into where Microsoft is going next with the Dynamics user interface, which is going to be an interface and an experience for AI. So I see that we've got some questions already in the chat. I'm actually going to do the questions in reverse order from the way that they've been presented. So I'm going to take the first one first, which was to share the Tech Talk video links. So what I've actually been told, and I hope this works, is I've been told that I can actually share my screen with you. So what I am looking to do here is I'm looking to share my screen. And I actually find the right screen to actually share with you. And here we are. Now, hopefully, you can now see that what we have down here is the fast track for Dynamics 365, Microsoft Dynamics 365 Fast Track Tech Talks. This is the screen that the Tech Talks that I was talking about. And I'll just cut and paste for you the link to that into the live chat. So this is one way that you can actually access the Tech Talks. So this is a lovely place for you to come and find them, because this is effectively, this is the Dynamics 365 community site, and this is the fast track page on the Dynamics 365 community site. So the nice thing about this is that on under featured, you'll see them given out in order, but you can also see on this right hand side those ones that are most liked. There is another way you can access these, because all of them are also available on the YouTube site. So if we have a look here on the Fast Track Tech Talks YouTube site, if you prefer just to go directly in here, and I'll share that link for you as well. And so this is just another way that you can access exactly the same material, no difference whatsoever. But the nice thing you can do here is, as you can see, I subscribe to a number of different sites. You can come in here, you can subscribe to this site, and then if anything new comes up, then you'll automatically get it into your feed up here and your notifications up here. So that's quite a nice way to actually do it. So the question that we had for that was asking somebody who was primarily working in field service, and they wanted to see the changes to the work orders again, please. So I thought the best way for me to do that was to actually show you. So this is my trial site. I have my, like many community users, I have my community developer tenant, and under that you can set up your own trial applications for all the Dynamics applications. Really useful way just to keep up to date with what's going on and to keep your hand in if you're not actually using a particular app on a regular basis. So this is the field service app, and I've come straight down here into the work orders here. So there's two different ways you can actually look at work orders. You've got your normal view here, or you can actually also see them under the focused view, and the focused view also gives you a pane here where you can see the pane. Now, the particular reason I'm not going to be concentrating on this one here is because it only shows you the 2 rather than the 3 side. So I'm going to just quickly take us back to the read-only grid and then just go into the top sample. And so what you actually see here is if I come in and choose the different, so you've got 3 different work order forms that you can select from. You've got what is the now new one. So if you remember when I was talking in the presentation, I said that the legacy had become the new now and gone into general availability. So that is what we've got here. But where I was back when I was doing starting that journey back in November 2023, this is what we were seeing. This was the old legacy system. So this is, like I said, this is your old business process flow, your timeline, your 3 columns. This is exactly what you used to see. So if I now come into what is now GA, this is where you see everything changes. And this is where you're going effectively from that 3 panes to 2 panes. And then this is what I was talking about over here. So this is the booking card. And the booking card, which I didn't really have time to actually explain for those of you who don't use field service regularly, this booking card, it's dynamic, and it's dynamic and it changes based on whether or not we're looking at the status of that particular form. So this work order, it's scheduled. So the information that you've got here is all about what that call looks like. So this is Hallie, who's going out, the field service engineer who's going out to deal with this particular call. This is effectively the appointment details, how long the call is expected to last, and the fact that apparently no travel is required. So maybe Hallie's actually on site already there. If I actually come out and I pick another one which is unscheduled, say, for example. And again, this is just sample data, just Microsoft's normal standard sample data that you can load up. You can see that when it's unscheduled, I've got a different, interesting, it's been rejected. Ooh, I haven't seen one of those before. Let's have a look at a different one, because what you should have is, let's have a look at completed, because what I wanted to be able to show you is that you get different information dependent on the dynamic booking card. And this is the beauty of this, is the fact that it is dynamic. It's actually responding, and this card is actually changing and giving you different information depending on the status that you've actually got. So as you can say, on this completed one, it's got the information of the call, but it also shows you, if it had the information in, how long the call actually took, and if there was a pricing behind it, they were saying an hourly rate, and that David, this particular engineer who did this particular call, if he had actually used particular parts to do a fix or anything like that, all those invoice costs would automatically pull through here, because David would be updating on his mobile app, on his field service mobile app, and then all that information would automatically pull through, and effectively you could have that information here, you can post that information, raise an invoice. So that is effectively what I was talking about with regards to the field service app. These are the changes that we're seeing over. So we've got another question about when do we think that we're going to see these changes in the sales module. So let's see if we can jump over into the sales module, over into the sales hub. Hopefully this is very familiar to any of you who are used to. It's not happy. It's not bringing Copilot 3 for me, as in the Copilot homepage. Maybe it's because it needs to load a bit. And it's still finding itself. So what we actually saw when we saw the immersive homepage is that is currently still in preview. I don't think it's going to be long before we actually see that come through. You can still use it now. It's like anything, it's not supported by Microsoft at the moment, as far as if you turn it on and then something goes wrong, Microsoft, you can't raise a support call to Microsoft because it's a preview functionality. But something like Copilot, you're not actually going, it's the Copilot in sales, a lot of the functionality that it does there, it's very much working on it, isn't it? It's very much, it's giving you summaries, it's giving you information. Oh, now I know what's going on. No, apologies for that. This means that personally, my own personal internet, my own personal broadband is having a moment. So that's why we're not actually getting anywhere there, because it can't reach it. It's not a happy chappy. But yeah, so you can still use it. You can still actually launch it in your production environment. It's not something that Microsoft advise, but it's just something that you turn on. It's just something that you would effectively come down here into the sales. You'd go into the app settings here. I'm not sure if it'll allow me to show it. And then, as you can see here, power up your sales. You come into here, and then effectively you can come into Sales Copilot. Let's just close up the sidebar, and then you can turn it on. You can try all the newest previews. You can turn it all on. Say, yes, I want to see all my new previews. I can save that. And then it will activate it. So you're not doing any sort of customization here. Apologies, that's my next track coming along. And what that would then do, or what that should then do, is once it's actually configured, and as you can see, let's turn it all on. Let's get Copilot in there. We want to see it all. You can then just, bring that information into your systems. Now, my biggest caveat for this is that with Copilot, it is only as good as the data you've got in there. If you haven't got good, robust, clean data, all that information we were saying about the summary and what's going on with your competitors and all that, if you haven't got that information actually in your system, then you're not actually going to be able to pull that information into your Copilot homepage. And if the information isn't current and it isn't up to date, it isn't robust, it isn't reliable, because that's where Copilot is just going into that information into your system, your enterprise data, and working its magic on it and pulling it through. If it doesn't then pull through good information and it surfaces poor information to your users, they will mistrust it. And then that's the most important thing, is that they will mistrust it and then they will stop using it. So the most important thing is definitely set up Copilot in your dev system, in your UAT system. Hopefully, if I refresh this now, it should give me under my works the Copilot homepage. If it's actually playing, yes, look at that. Now here we are. And there we go. That's how you set it up. And that's how you get your homepage, your Copilot homepage that we were demoing before up. So, but if I, as a salesperson, if I'm going in here and I want to say, right, show me my pipeline, and I click on this and I pull my pipeline through, and it isn't actually giving me the information that I expect on my pipeline. I mean, that means they're not going to get that information under the sales accelerator anyway. It's a bigger picture problem, but they will start mistrusting Copilot. So, you've just got to be very, very careful if you decide to actually put that into production. Off the top of my head, I don't actually remember what it actually says in the release planner as to when they expect this to go in from preview into GA. My guess is it's going to be early next year. And the reason I say that is because of the announcements that we've just had from the 2024 Wave 2 business application launch event, which happened the week before last. And when Satya Nadella and Charles O'Mara announced all the 10 new agents that were being set up automatically to be able to access in the various Dynamics 365 apps. So these are automated agents that we're now going to be able to access. And those agents are reliant on Copilot. Copilot effectively is your UI for your AI. It's your user interface to be able to access those autonomous agents. They are getting released to us in preview next month in December, with the expectations that they will be into GA early in the next year. So if they're going into GA early next year, this has got to go into GA early next year as well at the same time, because how can you actually have all automated agents and not have Copilot? So that, I haven't got it, in writing, but that is what my expectation would be, is that's when we'll see it. Is if we don't see it before then, we'll see it early in 2025. But I mean, absolutely, anybody, I'm very conscious of, we've only got one more minute for the Q&As, but please do reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be hanging around and in the breakout rooms for the next hour. If you want to come and have a chat with me, not a problem. More than happy to actually, take any more questions from there. So I hope you've enjoyed this session. I certainly enjoyed it, closing out this particular journey with you. Thank you very much.